let's learn. Yesterday and Wednesday, we learned that who God foreknew was Israel, and who God predestinated was Israel. Now we're going to know who the brethren are. Alright? The first place we're going to go is Romans chapter 9, verse 3 and 4. The next chapter after Romans 8. And Paul says in verse 3, "For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites." So the Israelites, specifically in this case the Jews, is who Paul is speaking of when he says, "For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh." In this particular part, he is talking about Jews. And he called them his brethren, his kinsmen. Now we're going to go and turn to Acts chapter 2. Acts chapter 2, we're going to read verse 5. This is when the apostles were filled with the Holy Ghost on the day of Pentecost. And verse 5 says, "And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven." And we're going to name those nations under heaven who had Jews. In verse 9 it says, "Parthians and Medes and Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia and Pamphylia, in Egypt and in parts of Libya, about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome." Strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes. So when he says brethren, and he's speaking in the letter of Romans, Paul, it's because there were Jews and proselytes in Rome, and they were called strangers. Let's keep going. Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of God. So all these Jews out of all these nations, physical Jews, by the way, physical Jews. There's no spiritual Jew. That's not a thing. It's not in the Bible anywhere. But let's go to verse 29. Let's see what Peter calls them. Peter the apostle calls these Jews devout men out of every nation under heaven. In verse 29 he says, "Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his sepulchre is with us unto this day." So the Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven, dwelling at Jerusalem, Peter called brethren. Let's go to Old Testament. Let's go to Old Testament. Now let's see Ezekiel. What did Ezekiel, or what did God say to Ezekiel? I'll read verse 14. "Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, thy brethren, even thy brethren, the men of thy kindred, and all the house of Israel, holy are they unto whom the inhabitants of Jerusalem have said, Get you far from the Lord, unto us is this land given in possession." So God told Ezekiel that his brethren, or his brothers, the men of his kindred, all the house of Israel, meaning the Jews, and all the house of Israel, that's his brethren. The same brethren that we saw in Acts 2, the same brethren that we saw in Romans 9. Let's go back. They're going to go to Nehemiah 5, verse 8. Nehemiah 5, verse 8. And for context, this is Nehemiah about to rebuke the nobles and the rulers because they are exacting usury on their brothers. So verse 8, and I said unto them, we after our ability have redeemed our brethren, the Jews, which were sold unto the heathen. And will ye even sell your brethren, or shall they be sold unto us? Then held they their peace, and found nothing to answer. The point is, the brethren who Nehemiah redeemed, and the brethren who the nobles and rulers were exacting usury on, were the Jews. One more, last one. Micah chapter 5, verse 2. But thou, Bethlehem, Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall he come forth unto me, that is to be ruler in Israel. This is talking about Christ, whose goings forth have been from of old, from everlasting. Therefore will he give them up until the time that she which travaileth hath brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren, the Jews, shall return unto the children of Israel. So Christ's brethren is the Jews, and to a larger scale, the children of Israel. So, the foreknown, the predestinated, and the brethren is Israel.